Good morning, my name is Matthias Westhaver and I go to the University of Guelph. Canada is known as a cold country. It is even sometimes referred to as the Great White North. But by the end of the century, or even sooner, this title may not be applicable with a changing climate. According to the Government of Canada, by the end of the century, temperatures are expected to increase between 1.8 Celsius and 6.3 Celsius. Consequences of an increase in temperature means that pests that were traditionally in the south and even diseases will migrate north, and there would be more extremes in temperature and longer heat waves or droughts, which puts pressure on Canadian crops and livestock. Broadly speaking, silvopasture is an agroforestry practice that integrates pasture and woodlot in order to raise livestock. It has a long-term goal of producing timber products and nuts from the trees and short-term goals of yielding animal products from the livestock that resides on the land. Silvopasture is not going to work everywhere. For example, according to the Government of Alberta, the costs and returns of practicing pasture in that province are economically unfeasible for farmers. However, in southern Ontario and the American Northeast, silvopasture has great potential due to the region's climate and ecological similarities. In Figure 5, we have a map of the Great Lakes and the drainage basin flowing into them. And this is just here to highlight the ecological similarities that are shared between these regions. Furthermore, in Figures 6 and 7, we have maps of the hardwood forests of the northeast United States. Now, due to the proximity to southern Ontario, there are similarities between the two areas. However, a lot of the former forests that were in southern Ontario have now been turned into farmland. Silvopasture is not a new development. It's already been used for a very long time. For example, in Portugal, they have an ancient agroforestry system called montado, which includes a low density of trees with agricultural/pastoral component. The main tree species is cork oak. An example of an animal species that is used in a silvopasture system is the domestic pig. It gets supplemental nutrients from the ground floor by what it forages, and it fertilizes the ground with its feces. It gets shading from the canopy of the trees, and it already has a long history of use in proto-silvopasture. Examples of other animal species that can be used in silvopasture systems include cattle, goats, sheep, and chickens. An example of a tree species that can be used in a silvopasture system is called the eastern black walnut. So the nuts that fall to the ground can be eaten by the swine if that's the type of silvopasture system that's being used, and that supplements their diet. And the ones that don't can be harvested by the farmer. That diversifies examples of other species of trees that can be used in the silvopasture system include hickory trees and oak trees, which both produce nuts, and pine trees, primarily for shade for cattle. The present state of silvopasture right now could be described as a lack of inquiry into it, as there's considerable research yet to be done on the subject, and it's actually relatively new as to the deliberate use of land Silvopasture has a great potential for tackling and even mitigating a lot of the issues that are and will be faced by the Canadian agricultural industry. Benefits of silvopasture include revenue diversification for farmers, which include additional forestry products. It also provides shade for livestock, and according to Project Drawdown, CO2 emissions could be reduced by 31.2 gigatons if adoption of silvopasture systems increased to 554 million acres from an original 351 million acres by the year 2050. Drawbacks to silvopasture include high costs and slow implementation in the beginning. Another is the potential for animal-based soil degradation by pigs rooting around, uprooting roots and destroying soil integrity. Silvopasture is a complex system that benefits farmers and livestock as well. However, there isn't a lot of research going into it right now, but it's hoped that with increased pressure of the climate and more interest in trying to solve issues in agriculture with climate change, that there will be a growth of knowledge towards silvopasture and therefore more research. And that is one of the biggest things that needs to be done right now with silvopasture research. glimmering